Thanks, Les Ken. First of all, I'd like to warmly welcome ratification at long last of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. In your speech, Minister, you referred to a number of important developments, including the National Disability Inclusion Strategy and the 100 measurable and time-specific actions to deliver those. And I wonder if you'd be able to report to the Dáil on what's been achieved there. You also referred, of course, to the Living in the Community and Time to Move On programmes and personalised budgets, and these are crucial initiatives, but they need massive funding support from government. And again, I wondered, what steps you've taken to achieve that. For example, as a member of the Budget Oversight Committee, other deputies and myself, we've expressed the view that I think the health and disability budget is at least 800 million to €1 billion short of what's needed to implement kind of basic programmes, and this is your area of responsibility, and obviously for the delivery of this. UNCRPD. Last November, of course, you told me, Minister, that, and I quote, "It's essential that the state is in a position to meet the obligations that it assumes under the terms of an international agreement from the moment of its entry into force for Ireland." And you went on to say, before the state can ratify the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, enactment of new legislation and amendment of existing legislation is required to ensure obligations will be met upon entry into force for Ireland. But unfortunately, of course, that's been the excuse since 2007, which you've continued for the last 2 years, for the unpardonable delay in ratifying this important convention and leaving us in the shameful position of being the last country to do so. So while I warmly welcome the step, the reality is we are ratifying the convention without the necessary legislation, and those amendments referred to yourself, Minister McGrath, haven't been brought into place. And for that reason, also, of course, some advocates in the area of disability have referred to the motion itself as therefore hollow. While it's welcome, I think, and the ratification is crucial, it is disrespectful to those who have advocated for this day that the necessary legislative changes have been consistently delayed. I note, for example, the Disability Miscellaneous Provisions Bill. You're saying it should be finally enacted by August 2018. The Deprivation of Liberties legislation should be enacted by the end of 2018. The Decision Support Service should be operational in 2019, but you gave us no time frame on that, Minister, and perhaps you can come back to us on all of those in your response. The Assisted Decision-Making Capacity Act 2015 is expected to be fully commenced, you say, by January 2019. We also, of course, we've had the provisions of the Disability Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2016 to be all implemented. So, I believe that it's critical that we have the full information on that, and that you begin to bring forward that legislation. I'm proud to be a member of the informal Oireachtas Disability Committee group, outstandingly chaired and led by Senator John Dolan, our colleague, and I'd like to commend Senator Dolan and other disability advocates who have worked tirelessly for the rights of persons with disability, including the adoption of this convention at long last. Of course, the budget, as I've mentioned, for disability services was slashed by 160 million, or 10%, as the Minister well knows, between 2008 and 2015. And while the total expenditure was partially restored to 1.66 billion in 2017, and as you said in your speech, Minister, 1.76 billion in 2018, you seem to only have secured an additional €25 million for additional services in 2018. And it has to be remembered that the profound damage to citizens with disability and their families wrought by the crash is deeply apparent in continuing cutbacks in services in all areas of disability, including independent living. Every week, like yourself, Minister, because we represent the same constituency, we hear from constituents who are either persons with disabilities, are caring for a family member with a disability, or raising a child with a disability, and the barriers they face to access to services are never-ending. You'll know I've made many representations, for example, on behalf of parents of young children who are awaiting diagnosis and assessment, or older school leavers who are unsure whether they will have access to day-to-day placement. And those young children, of course, are not getting their rights under the Disability Act of 2005, which was passed in this House, which stipulates a 3-month waiting time and a 3-month operational time. So the motion before us today, of course, makes no mention of the UNCRPD's the optional protocol, Minister, which Ireland has indicated we would be ratifying. And as we know, the protocol would allow for groups or persons to take a complaint to the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disability. So again, I'd like you to answer us what's your policy on that. Inclusion Ireland and other advocates have asked that the advisory committee to be established consists of a majority of people who have experience of various aspects of disability, as per Malta's advisory committee, and that's very important, Minister. And again, I'd like you to confirm that you will do that, and the government will do that here tonight. So, with those caveats, Las Cancorla, I am delighted to support at long last this convention. Thanks, Ken.